Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Things Rangers this week. Actually, it's not even this week. We did a show 2 days ago. But when you get breaking news like the wrong New York team is advancing in the playoffs, then we have to actually cover that as well. I am, of course, Mark Williams, your host, and I am joined by the professor of Skate Safe, Mr. John Filkowski.
That's a dubious title.
I didn't know where to go with that for a second. And also joining us is our Islanders contributor, Mr. Anthony LaRocco.
The barn will be rocking for at least 2 more games.
Yeah, when I looked up Monday night and saw Tristan Jarry misplay that puck badly, all I could think to myself is, great, 2 more weeks of Islanders. So I actually saw my shadow and wanted to crawl into a hole and for the duration of the month. All right, but getting into that series, the first game this year was where the Islanders ended Boston's 10-game point streak. Barzal had the go-ahead goal at 5:30 of the third period. Pajot with 2 goals, Eberle with a goal. Then going on to their second game, 2-2. They were tied going into the third, and then the Islanders just absolutely blitzed Yaroslav Hasek. My favorite video, I still have it, I still own it, is Yaroslav Halak giving up that goal from the blue line in 2015 when he was an Islander versus the Flyers, where all he had to do was stop a puck for 5 seconds, and the Islanders made the playoffs. Yes, they made the playoffs right after that, but still. Then 2 weeks later, they played again, this time in Boston. Brock Nelson had the only goal. Anthony Beuvillier shootout winner. JG Pajot, Josh Bailey, and Oliver Wahlstrom all scored for the Bruins, but they came back and tied that game. That was with Anders Bjork tying that game and won it in overtime on an Anthony Beuvillier goal. Travis Zajac was notched his first goal as a New York Islander, and I'm correct if I say that's his only goal as a New York Islander, right? Okay, yes. That was in Taylor Hall's first game in Boston, which, by the way, he would also score versus the Islanders in the next game. And then the last one, Matt Barzal had a goal, Oliver Wahlstrom had a goal, and Taylor Hall had 2 goals, including the overtime winner. That was in the final week of the regular season. All right, so that brings us to tomorrow night, game 1 in Boston. And boys, we're going to do something a little bit different to start the playoff preview. We want a little WWE action, and we're going to start with Mr. Anthony LaRocco as the New York Islanders.
So being that my name is LaRocco and I've been called the L Rock, I'm going to do this from the perspective of the Rock. So, Brad Marchand, you skate around the ice licking people, thinking you're some sort of animal. So what the Rock says, he wants you to go down, you live in Boston, he wants you to go down to the North End, go to a fancy Italian restaurant. You could bring your jabroni pastrnak with you, have some huge pasta, have a couple of glasses of wine. Then what the Rock wants you to do, go down to Mike's Pastries, the famous Mike's Pastries. He wants you to go in there, find the biggest cannoli you can find, fill it up with the cannoli cream, put some chocolate chips in it. Then Marchand, what the Rock wants you to do, in one swoop motion, he wants you to turn that sideways and stick it straight up your candy ass. See, Brad Marchand, what you don't realize is you are going to be going against 1-on-1 with Ilya Sorokin, the thriller from Manila, the Russian prodigy. And Brad Marchand, let me tell you something. Your days of licking people, your days of causing havoc on the ice, and your days of winning hockey games is over. If you smell what the L Rock is cooking.
Riveting stuff right there. And now we have to go with the Boston response with our own Mr. John Filkowski.
Oh, yeah. The Macho Man Randy Savage would be a Bruins fan if he was still alive. You want to know why? Because the perfection line is going to get to that top rope. He's going to climb up there into the heavens. and come down, bringing hell in the form of an elbow drop, brother. All over the New York Islanders. Matt Barzal, you are nothing but a little brat like Hulk Hogan. That's what you are. You're a two-face. You're a brat. You're a punk, brother. And I'll tell you right now, Ilya Sorokin, your little Cinderella story is about to come to an end. Because the cream always rises to the top. Yeah. So let me tell you about a guy named Tuukka Rask, the former Vezina winners. Quite the upgrade, I would say, over Tristan Jarry, who looks like a dumpster fire in Pittsburgh. Black and yellow, more like orange and red flames all over the streets of Pittsburgh. Now you gotta face a real goaltender, maybe not a brick wall, but a real goaltender. And then you got to worry about Mr. Taylor Hall. And if I had to pick someone with a little machismo on the Bruins, somewhere close to the Macho Man, it would be Taylor Hall, because I think he's a lot of legends. So, yeah, the Islanders are really in for it in this series, brother. I'm going to tell you that right now. And when this is all over, I think the Boston Bruins are going to take it. It's going to go a long ways. It's going to be a slobber knocker, as Jim Ross would call it. But I think the Bruins get that 1, 2, 3 at the end of the day. The gospel according to the Macho Man, Randy Savage. Oh, yeah.
All right. Nice energy we got there, boys. So let's go right into the series. And of course, the first thing I always got to look at is the stars. The stars in this series kind of align a little bit differently from what you think, because I got to go with the guy that was third in scoring to mention for the Bruins and say this is the star to watch. Is Brad Marchand. Brad Marchand in the regular season, 29 goals, 40 assists, 69 points, 30 in the NHL, as I just said, a plus 26. He's got 3 goals in the playoffs. One of them, I believe, was the game winner in game 2, if I recall correctly. Should have actually researched that once again. It's been a long morning. And he's just performing off the charts. The opposite of that, but again, the star we got to watch, Matt Barzal. 45 points in the regular season. He's only got 3 assists so far. But like I said last week, all it takes is 1, and that could change everything. So, boys, what other big name players are you looking at in this series to step up for their teams?
Well, the Beuvillier, Nelson, and Bailey line was dynamite for the Islanders. I mean, credit for Filk pointing out Nelson had to be important for the Islanders in round 1. And he was. He had 3 goals, 3 assists. He saw Crosby a lot, and he played a really great game. And that line, like I said, to carry the Islanders. So watch out for them again. But I think for the Islanders, it's going to be interesting to see Pelech and Pullock. They continued their mastery of Crosby from 18-19. Instead of allowing him 1 point this time around, they held him to 2 points in 6 games, which is, to me, is equally as impressive. He got Crosby was a little more, I don't want to say effective, but he had a little more chances this series than the other series. But the fact is that he didn't produce, and Pelech and Pullock still held him in check. So it's going to be interesting to see that pair play against the perfection line. They're going to see a lot of them, and they're going to have to play to the same level they did on Crosby, maybe even a little bit more so against that line. So for me, those 2 top pairing guys for the Islanders are their stars to watch, in my opinion.
Filk?
If I'm going to say anybody on Boston, it's got to be Taylor Hall. As Anthony said, that matchup against the Pelech and Pullock pairing against the perfection line is going to be like the big matchup. But in the playoffs, it comes down to depth scoring. Was the guy to watch for the Islanders in the last series. Taylor Hall is going to be the guy for the Bruins in this series. That, like Anthony said, that perfection line is going to draw that matchup. I think they're going to have to play even better than they played against Crosby because I think this line is far better than Crosby's line. I think there's a lot more problems. I also think that Taylor Hall, he's probably going to, I would assume, draw Lenny and Mayfield. That'll probably be the line matchup or the pairing that he would draw. And I don't think he's going to get either one of Wilson's line, whatever it is. So we're going to have to be important for them. So I'm going to say for the Islanders, it's probably going to be JG Pageau, who's probably going to be the guy that you really have to watch the series for them. Yeah, definitely Taylor Hall. And this is where make or break himself as a performer. This, I would definitely say Hall for the Bruins, then JG Pageau, because I think that Boston has two really solid scoring lines that could score. Pittsburgh, we weren't sure what was going to happen after Crosby because Malkin wasn't healthy, and even back, he really wasn't himself in this series. I mean, Brian Rust and Jeff Carter were really kind of carrying their offense. And I really don't think the Islanders are going to have that easy of a time this time around with them. So I would say those guys.
I think you guys say it all best. What I look forward to, Anthony, and you'll be happy to know this, is what kind of chance the Islander fans are going to have for Taylor Hall, especially knowing that he kind of spurned them for Boston.
He didn't.
So, well,
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
He didn't?
He didn't. Lou Lamoriello actually had a chance to pull that deal off for him, and then actually turned around at the last second, nixed it, and went and traded for Palmieri and Zajac. So that's not the case. So if anything, Taylor Hall really has something to prove here.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? My mistake. I always thought it was the other way around.
No.
That Hall said no and then went there. Because that's one of the reasons why I gave my answers last week is like that way. All right, defense. Which team's got the edge defensively on the blue line?
This is really close. They play really similar style of hockey. Obviously the Islanders were better with allowing less goals than Boston did during the year. But they're both really good defensive teams. I think some days you could say the Islanders, some days you could say Boston. I think it really is that close. Boston as a whole, they have the best offensive defenseman of the two with McAvoy. And Carlo's good. Grizzlick's good. He's smaller. Clifton's a smaller guy. They're more like a speed element of their game. But I would say true defensive wise, Pullock, Pelech, Mayfield, Dobson, the Islanders have a good group there. So I think they're built differently. They play different styles. But, if there really is ever a toss-up on this one, here it is. So it's going to be important on both sides, though, because whichever team – because I think a lot of these games have the potential of being, 2-1, 3-2 games. So I think whatever team breaks defensively is going to probably be on the shorter side of the stick here in this series. But for me, this really is a toss-up. I could see cases to saying both.
John?
This is so close. Like I said, I have a feeling that this series is going 7, and all these games are going to be low-scoring games. So, you have two of the better defensive teams in the entire NHL going at it. Boston might have finished 4th, but they were without their starting goaltender for quite some time. Who knows if Rask didn't miss the time that he missed during the season, where they would have ranked in goals. They could have been second, first, could have been third. But, the two teams play different types of games defensively, but they're so well structured and they're so well nuanced that it's really a toss up. I like the Islanders' top 4, and on paper their top 4 is better, but McAvoy is going to see 30 plus minutes per game playoffs against them. And Charlie's the best defenseman by far in the entire series. He's hands down the best. He's one of the, I would say he's probably top 10 in the NHL right now. the Pullock-Pelech pairing is one of the top, I would say, 5 best pairings in the league. So it's really close. I would say it's a toss-up. I don't know if any team decisively has an edge here.
I'm actually kind of leaning towards the Islanders on this, only because I think I've been watching them more often. Like I'm looking right now, and Jeremy Lazan, Mike Riley, those guys are really supposed to make me blush and go, "Oh my God, I'm worried about that." McAvoy is going to be the best defenseman in this series. We do know this, and the best pairing is going to be Pullock and Pelech. So let's, we're going to see how that all plays out. But the big factor is going to be, once again, goaltending. And goaltending, look at Tuukka numbers. I mean, when he was against the Islanders this season, 2-2, 1.86 goals against. So the Islanders have beaten him. So that's not a problem about that this year. 15-5-2. And by the way, why does the NHL keep putting ties as an actual category on there? Because I was wondering why the hell he was 15-5-0-2. There can't be a tie anymore. Why are we doing that? So anyway, and of course, the guy that Anthony wants to talk about, boom, there's his numbers right there. 9.43 save percentage. Wow. That is incredible in that series. And I don't think he was really that special in game 4, but the rest of the series, Sorokin, or even game 6. But 1 and 5, he had to be special, and he was. So if he can win one game on the road, that might change the series.
I mean, this is obviously Rask is the experienced veteran who has all that. That definitely all goes to him. If you're talking specifically the first round of the playoffs, they were both outstanding. You know, Sorokin had a 9.43 save percentage. Rask had a 9.41 save percentage. Rask's goals against was a little better than Sorokin's in round 1. So if you're specifically talking the playoffs right now, the goaltending is easy. Obviously, if you're talking encompassing, it's Rask just due to he's been in the league for so much longer. But as of right now, going into game 1, the fact is they're both 2 goaltenders who have played really, really well. So again, it's just really going to be a matter of which guy holds the line. One thing that I've noticed with Sorokin is, and they kind of said, actually, Igor Runko was on our show when we had it, but after that, I developed a rapport with him. So over time, I talked to him on Twitter through DMs. The one thing he told me about Sorokin is that he's mentally strong, like he has ice in his veins. And I think this playoff series, he kind of proved that. He was calm, cool. So I don't think he'll get rattled by playing Boston. But I think it is going to come down to really the goaltender that holds the line better, continues this level of play the longest. So, this is another series where the goaltender could steal this series. So, it's the only thing I'm worried about is some Islander fans have been talking about if Trotz would have the cojones to go back to Varlamov for game 1, which would be a huge mistake. Only because of his performance against Boston in the regular season. Some fans are worried about that. I don't think it will happen, but this is going to be a good goaltending matchup. Sorokin's going against one of the better goaltenders in the NHL these last 10 years, so it'll be a good measuring stick. But again, this is another real tough one. I don't know.
John, by the way, before you jump in, let me ask you guys this question. If I told you player A has 48 penalty minutes, player B has 46 penalty minutes, who's player A?
Player A has 46 or player B has 46?
Player A has got 48. Player B's got 46.
Got to give me some other stats. That's just
if I give any more stats, it's gonna take it all away. We'll go with they each have at least 45 points.
Barzal's
got 48 penalty minutes. Do you know who has 46?
Who?
Marchand. So that's something that's been cleaned up. I know I should have saved this for the star segment, but that's just, that boggles my mind. He's actually getting closer to a Lady Bing than he is 100 penalty minutes. So he still will never get one, thank God. Anyway, Filk, jump right in on the goal.
I got it. It's got to be advantage Boston here, and I know that Anthony's going to be saying, oh well, the numbers are the same. Yeah, I get that, but experience matters in the playoffs. It does, and they're both playing well right now. Which, if Rask wasn't playing well right now, I would lean more towards Sorokin. But the numbers that they've posted are almost identical. They're that close.
Mm.
So I'm giving Rask the edge here. I know that Sorokin, I know Aranko has said it because I've seen Anthony's conversations with Igor Aranko. And I know how he's talked about Sorokin and how he's praised him, and other people have praised Sorokin for the same things. But I think it's a little easier to have that kind of calm demeanor when the goaltender across from you is trying to make glove side saves with his blocker and is letting up the type of goals Jarry let up in that series. So I don't think it's going to be a lot harder on Sorokin this series because he isn't going to be facing a goaltender that's going to do those types of things. He's just not. Tuukka Rask is a far better goaltender. He's a Vezina winner. He's still a very good goaltender, as obviously this postseason's numbers have shown us. So I've got to give the advantage in net to Boston. It's just facts at this point. I mean, can Ilya Sorokin prove everybody wrong and really take that next step and become one of the elite goaltenders sooner than people would have expected? Sure, it's possible, definitely possible. But as of right now, Tuukka Rask is the teacher as opposed to Ilya Sorokin being the student in this series. So.
Well, we're going to move on to, and as you said, the teacher versus the student. All I kept thinking about is that Eve Six song from back in the day, Leech, which, by the way, is also a great name for a hockey player.
Spelled differently.
All right, going to your under the radar player, Anthony. We'll start with you for your Islander.
Well, I can't. I don't know if I was good as under the radar because at this point, the series he had last round, but Anthony Beuvillier had 7 points in 6 games in round 1. He kind of continued what he did in the playoffs in the bubble last year. He's been really good. So I don't know if in that sense, I think Boston's going to be watching out for his line, but if he keeps playing the way he's playing, that's going to help the Islanders tremendously, especially with Barzal still kind of struggling to burst out here. So if Beuvillier and then that line as a whole, Nelson and Bailey can continue their play, that's going to be a huge plus for the Islanders. And remember, I mentioned this before Phil came on, Bergeron is going to match up against the Barzal line because even though they're not the best line for the Islanders right now, Barzal is still the most dangerous player. So Beuvillier, Bailey, and Nelson are going to play against, I don't know what, like Krejci and Hall. I mean, they're not, I mean, Krejci's better defensively than Hall, but they're not defensive juggernauts. So I think Boston may have a hard time playing against that Beuvillier, Nelson, Bailey line with their forward matchup there. So that's good news for the Islanders. So, but I'm going to say Beuvillier is the under the radar player.
That would have been my choice if I used the Islander guy. Phil, you got 2.
I mean, for the Islanders, I would say the under the radar guy here has got to be Scott Mayfield. Scott Mayfield's going to be a really important piece for them to see how that line, I think, handles like I said, the Taylor Hall matchup. Like I said, Taylor Hall was my pivotal guy to watch out for, the star. But the way that Scott Mayfield and Nick Leddy have to play against that line, if that ends up being the matchup, which I think it will probably be the real important piece because, again, I think the top lines are going to be really close. I don't think the perfection line is going to wreak havoc on them, but I think that pairing is also going to have a lot harder of a time with them than they did with the Crosby line. I think Gensel being a ghost in that series, partially due to the Islanders, but Gensel definitely was not playing. So you got to give credit where credit is due. The Islanders played a really good game against them, but I think Gensel was definitely not helping Crosby out a bit the way I would say for Boston. I'm going to go with Charlie Coyle. I think Coyle's line is going to be big because Carter's line was huge against the Islanders. And it definitely seems like the Islanders have a lot of trouble with teams that have depth. And I is on better than Pittsburgh's bottom six. I even think Corrali's line could give them some problems because that line is they play in your face, they play physical. They're I think they're like a bigger version of the Islanders' identity line. I think they're a little more skilled. So I definitely think that Charlie Coyle's line is really going to be something that the Islanders are going to have to deal with. They might have some trouble with them. So my guy to watch out for Boston.
Again, I'm taking all the Boston players just for the format. But from my under the radar player is probably going to be Jake DeBrusk. He's going to have to be physical, especially against I think the line that he's on right now is the Coyle line. And if the Islanders start answering with the identity line, he's the one that's going to have to answer back to Matt Martin and other guys. So that's where that's going to have to be. Anthony, we're going to go back to you for who is your most, well, I think this one's a no-brainer for you, but the most maligned New York Islander we have to watch.
See, maligned is a tough word because it's the actual definition, but I mean, you gotta go with Barzal. It's like I said, the killer B line, Nelson, Beuvillier, Bailey, they all had either 6 points or in Bovillier's case, 7 points in 6 games. JG Pajot, 7 points in 6 games. Don't forget about him. He was outstanding for the Islanders last round, offensively and also pitching in against playing against Crosby. Palmieri had 3 goals. So the Islanders are getting contributions up and down the lineup. Barzal is the one that's not going yet. So he needs to join the party here. He really does. So because again, if he gets going, then Boston's going to have a hard time stopping the Islanders' top 3 lines because that would mean they're all producing offensively. And that could be hard for Boston only because of their, how they're going to situate. Bergeron can only play against so many lines. So, so it's going to be hard for Boston if Barzal gets going here. So definitely Barzal for the Islanders.
Filk.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I was having connection problems before there. I don't know if you guys got all of what I said there in the previous segment.
We got most of it in the gist.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, maligned. I guess there really isn't anybody that's not performing to par on the Islanders except for Barzal. I mean, I don't think there really isn't any other answer right now. They're getting production from everybody. Even Noah Dobson's looked pretty good on the bottom pairing there for them. So I would say it's got to be Barzal for the Islanders. In Boston, I would say maybe David Krejci would be the guy. I mean, I don't think he's really played as well as he has in the past. Obviously, he's getting up there in age. So I probably David Krejci is the guy that needs to step up a little bit in this series and assert himself, because if he does so and him and Paul start playing well together and then I think the Islanders are in for it.
Yeah, Krejci was going to be my guy too. He's only got 2 assists, but then again, it was a short series and they got all that they needed to. I mean, it sounds weird to say it like that because the first 3 games went to overtime. The 4th game didn't, and like they were all close games. And then just all you need is just one more goal. You don't need to win every game 5-0. Which brings us to where we've been talking about this, the key matchups in this series that we know the perfection line is going to go against the Barzal line. So it's sort of like we're trying to figure out exactly what's the defense pairing and what's the forward pairing you want to actually go up against. And I think you said it best, the killer bees against the Hall line. Then that's Pajot versus, I guess, Coyle's line. It almost is going to go like 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you guys see anything differently happening?
Yeah. I mean, it's doesn't take a rocket science to figure out Pelech and Pullock they're going to play against the perfection line. That's a shoe-in. And then Letty Mayfield will play against Hall's line. And that's good only because Letty's a really good skater, so his speed will help playing against Hall, another fast player. So that's the similar type of matchup that you want for the Islanders' point of view. But for me, I would say the key matchup for me is going to be that Beuvillier, not what forward line they play against, but what Bruin defense pair is going to see the most of Beuvillier, Nelson, and Bailey. Because from the Islanders side of things, you have Cizikas, who's used as a shutdown center. You have Pajot, who's used as a shutdown center. And, over the last year, Brock Nelson has developed into a guy that could play against another team's top line. So the Islanders have 3 centers they could throw out against some of the Bruins' better players. I don't know if the Bruins have Corrali's a good defensive responsible player. I don't know if Bruins could say the exact same thing where each of their centers is going to be like a big deterrent to the Islanders' scores. I think how that all shakes out is going to be an interesting dynamic. I think it's going to be coaching. See which coach could get out-coached by who, by pressing the right buttons in terms of those similar matchups. So this one's actually really, really intriguing. I'm very curious to see how all this lines up.
Filk?
I got to disagree with that last part about the Bruin centers. They have 3 centers that could definitely do the job. Obviously, Bergeron is one of the most complete players in the game. Charlie Coyle is actually a very, very responsible center defensively. And then, obviously, Corrali is a decent defensive center himself. Nothing great, nowhere near Selke caliber, but still good enough at his own end. So, just like the Islanders, they have 3 centers that they can roll out. I would say, like I said, the matchup to look at is probably going to be Letty and Mayfield against the Krejci and Hall line. That's really what I think. I think the series can be made or broken on that matchup, because if that pairing can't stop Hall's line, then I think the floodgates are open. Because although I like how Green and Dobson have played together, they've been decent. I think Coyle's line is probably going to give them a little more problems than they faced in Pittsburgh. Maybe not offensively, but the Bruins play the same type of game that the Islanders do. They hit you hard. They're in your face. They're physical. They're going to be more physical than Pittsburgh was. So usually the Islanders in most series have the advantage physically, because they just come at you and hit you and they smash you, and that's it. But Boston is going to give that right back to them in spades. Why?
Yeah, that's going to be, and that's where the tough part is going to be, because the Boston's going to play that same style right back at them.
Yeah, Pittsburgh. I don't think the Penguins led in hits in any of the games that they played in that series. I think the hit counts are going to be very, they're going to be very close in each game. So, not that I'm saying that that's like the most important factor in the series or anything, but when you have one team that's the aggressor and the other team kind of just wants to play run and gun up and down the ice type of hockey, that's usually advantage Islanders. I don't think the Islanders are going to be able to have that advantage, because Boston's going to give that right back to them, and they're going to, play that same type of weight and, counterattack type game. So, yeah, I would say Letty Mayfield is against the Hall line is the make or break matchup in the series. I honestly think, because if Hall and Krejci can score on that pairing, then that's a big problem for them. If Hall and Krejci can't score, then that puts more pressure on Boston's bottom 6 to produce. And I don't know if they can produce to a level to make up for the lack of a second scoring line. So,
well, Phil, I'm going to jump right back to you and make you answer this question first. The Islanders will win this series if...
Wow, there's a lot of factors that really would attribute to them getting the series win. I would say the biggest one would probably be them getting leads earlier in the games. I think if they get the lead in a game, it's going to be tough for Boston to come back. Not that Boston has to play a run and gun style like Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, obviously, they wanted to try to turn every game into a trap meet, and then they got the Islanders to do that for a little bit and won some games that way. So it's not like the Islanders are immune to falling into that type of trap. They are. It's been proven in the last series. They can happen. But Barry Trotz definitely wants his team to avoid that. But the problem is that Bruce Cassidy doesn't have his teams play like that. So the Islanders will win the series if they start to get production from somebody like Matt Barzal and then they get the leads early. Because that's really probably the two most important factors for the Islanders. They need their star player to start stepping up, and they need to be ahead in games because Boston's going to be a team that isn't going to make a lot of mistakes.
Anthony.
So I mentioned before the Islanders' second line with Beuvillier, Bailey, Nelson's really going. Pajot's really going. If Barzal gets going, and now you have those three lines scoring goals and producing, I think that might be a little too much for Boston to handle. Because again, we mentioned McAvoy's probably the best defenseman altogether in the playoffs, but their six-man unit as a whole, I don't think is as strong as the Islanders defensively. So if the Islanders have three lines cooking here, and Barzal's really playing at the top of his game, I think that's going to be too much for Boston to handle. So that's how I think the Islanders win, by Barzal gets going and the other lines keep doing what they're doing.
I think when everything's equal, goaltending has to come up big. If you see Sorokin playing the way he did in the game 1 and game 5, and even game 4, I mean, he wasn't, like I said, he wasn't spectacular in game 4, but he didn't do anything wrong because the Islanders played great defense for him. So that's nothing against the kid. So if he brings the game 6 action that he had a couple great saves, but he also had a couple soft goals. So
I have to disagree with that one.
Okay.
Zucker's third goal was a deflection.
That's a deflection. That's not on him.
Yep. The second goal, Gensel took the shot, and he was sliding to anticipate it, and it hit off Pullock's skate and went the other way and went in. And then the other goal was Jeff Carter on a semi-breakaway all alone. Nothing you can do about any of those.
Well, then in that case, if he looks like a rookie, the Islanders aren't going to have a shot. But if he plays the way he has in the last series, he's gonna be great for them. The Islanders are in trouble if you know what? I'll start this one. Actually, I'll do this one for you guys. If the perfection line is the best line on the ice, I'll say that. Go ahead, Anthony.
I was going to say if the Pelech and Pullock pair can't rein in and handle the perfection line.
I stole someone else. Yes.
The Islanders will be in trouble.
Filk?
The clean sweep. I mean, if that line just absolutely wreaks havoc on the Islanders, because you know that line's I'm going to say this right now. That line's going to shut down Barzal. Even if they don't score a lot of points, that line's going to negate Barzal's line because they're a shutdown line as well. They're probably the most complete line in the league. They may not.
But how can you say that? Because they're gonna have Leo Komarov to deal with.
Yeah, that's where I would move Leo Komarov off that line because they're going to need. That's another thing. Thank you for bringing that up, actually, because that's actually a great point. Because you're going to have 2.5 guys playing against 3 very talented star players. So with that in mind, that means there's probably a little more for Pullock and Pelech to handle. So they might have their backs against the wall in this situation. So yeah, but I mean, even if you take Komarov off that line and you replace them, let's just say with like Wahlstrom, someone who can actually move the puck and actually like facilitate some sort of offense, I still think that line can negate Barzal's line at the very least. So that line, if anything, I think it's going to be a wash at the worst for them. I think at the very best, they could shut that line down and they could score goals as they've done to just about every other line in the league. So, yeah, I think if the Islanders can't handle that line, that series is not gonna go as far as I said it would.
Anthony.
I already gave my answer.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But I will say, regarding Komarov, he shouldn't be on the line. But one thing that Trotz loves about Komarov is his physicality. I think one game he had something crazy. I think it was early in the series. He had 14 hits against Pittsburgh, and he has a history with Komarov, with Marchand, with the licking incident. I think Trotz likes him there because I think Komarov's solely going to just be used to get under the skin of Marchand and hit him, chirp him, battle him. I think that's his purpose for this series, honestly, is just to just be hard on Marchand, be a pest, and get under his skin.
I think this is actually one of the reasons why you got Travis Zajac available. And if you can kick Palmieri up to the Barzal line, even though they haven't had chemistry. So it's I don't like Komarov being on that line as much as any Islander fan doesn't like Komarov being on that line. But he plays defense and he back checks and he has a toughness in there. So I got it up already, boys. And Anthony, I'm going to start with you. Your prediction is?
So it's going 7 games. I teetered for a while of which team, but ultimately I'm going to have to go with my heart and say, Islanders in 7. But it could easily be Boston in 7. I just think, sooner than later, Barzal, he's too talented to stay off the score sheet in terms of scoring goals. The way he skates, uses his edges, his stick handling ability, he's going to break through, you would think, at some point. And if he does, and the Islanders keep getting the production up and down their lineup, what they are, that's a good thing for them. And then defensively, they got 2 good solid pairs who can hold teams at bay. And then Sorokin obviously is hot right now. So yeah, but this is really close though. I'm not saying it with 100% confidence, but a gun to my head, I say Islanders in 7, and see what happens. But it's gonna take a team effort. Like I said, Beuvillier, Bailey, Nelson are gonna have to keep playing the way they are. Pajot's been fantastic. He's got to keep that up. Hopefully Oliver Wahlstrom, who's day-to-day, he gets back in maybe by game 2. That will help them on the power play, especially with his shot. So yeah, there's a lot of contributing factors here. It needs to kind of be like a perfect storm of things going right for the Islanders, but with the way they are playing right now as a whole, I'm just going to say Islanders in 7.
Filk.
I'm going Boston in 7. I said this previously. I think if Pittsburgh had better goaltending, they would have won that series. They would have won it earlier on. I just think the Islanders are going to now face a better goaltender. They're going to face a team that's better structured defensively, a team that I think is coached better. I know Sullivan's got 2 Stanley Cups, but he had prime Crosby and Malkin for those. And I don't think Sullivan is as good of a coach as some people give him credit for, or as his resume would dictate. So I like Bruce Cassidy. I like what he's done. The core of this team has gone to the Stanley Cup Finals recently, so they know what it takes to win. They're hungry. So that they're going to want to get back there. I mean, obviously, you could say the same thing about the Islanders. They got to the conference finals, but the Bruins felt what it was like to lose in the Stanley Cup Finals, and that's a big difference from the Eastern Conference Finals or Conference Finals or semifinals, whatever they're going to call it this year. So I just think that the perfection line will probably negate Barzal's line. If not, they should be able to get some offense on that line. Pullock and Pelech are going to make it hard for them, but I do think they could still score and shut down that line. It really comes down to the depth. It really comes down to whether the Islanders' bottom 2 pairings on defense can shut down Hall and Coyle's lines. I think they can. I think every game in this series is probably going to be a 2-1, a 1-0, or a 3-2 win at the most. I don't think you're going to see a lot of goals in this series. And the goaltending, like I said, both goaltenders have been very good. So I'm gonna say Boston in 7.
This I waged on a lot, and I kind of thought about this left and right. I think both teams can win in each other's arenas, but I also can't look at if Boston's up 3-2 in the series, I can't see them closing it out at Nassau Coliseum and that being the final game at the Coliseum. So I had to go Boston in 7 as well. I would say that I shouldn't pick against the Islanders anymore, but eventually I'm going to have to because I don't think they're beating Tampa Bay when they face off again.
No.
And if that's the case, because Carolina might have something to say about that. So it's I picked Boston to get out of this leg the entire time. And I just think that's what's going to happen. So but the number one thing is we also want to know what you think. First, always give us a like and a share and a subscribe. And also, where do you think we're are we missing something? Because these teams are so evenly matched. And I really do believe that they're evenly matched, guys. Are we missing somebody? Do you think someone's going to break out? Who's the guy that hasn't been playing well that you're knowing, hey, this guy is going to do well this series? Put it all in the comments below. Which one's going to be the better goaltender? Is it going to be Sorokin stealing it, or are they going to stick it up Tuukka's Rask? See what I did there, boys? See what I did? Okay. Anyway, like I said, put it all in the comments below. All right. Moving on. We're going to do a brief bar talk segment.
I'm going to take a shot on this.
And damn it, I always leave on the banner at the bottom. Okay. Even though I edited it out for the segments, but here.
I'm going to take a shot on this one.
I'm going to say beer.
I'm buying everybody around on this. Oh my God.
That Taylor Hall line really is starting to burn me a little bit. But moving back, guys, to, again, our Ball Talk segment where our choice of drink gauges our confidence based on NHL topics. Like, if you're not that confident and you want a shot, yeah, you can always go for a beer. You're buying everybody around. So goaltending will be the deciding factor in this series. Mr. Larocco.
Yeah, I mean that's tough. I think which teams obviously offense has more sustained offensive pressure will be one, but being that their numbers and stuff are so evenly matched right now, I'll go. Screw yeah, I'll go round on this. I think whichever goaltender outduels the other, I think might be the deciding factor in the series. So that very well could be true. I think, like I said, it's going to be a low-scoring series. So whichever goaltender lets in that extra goal could be the one that ultimately decides the series. So, you have one end, you have the kind of like the young phenom, if you will, and the other end you have the wily veteran who's still playing at a high level. It's going to be interesting which one prevails. I think both have different areas of their game that are better than the other. Obviously, being Rask's experienced guy, I think he knows what it takes to win at this level. He's done it for a long time. On the other end, Sorokin's kind of like Gumby. His athletic ability is off the charts. He's never really out of a play. So it's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be a good goaltending matchup, and I think it should add for some good TV. But yeah, I'll go around on this. I'll buy in there.
By the way, for anybody who has been wasn't born in the last millennium, Gumby was a claymation character that could stretch around a little bit. So, Filk.
Well, I'm going to say beer because, it's going to be important, and it might be the most important, but I just think that there are other things that are going to help decide this. Like I said before, the perfection line against that pairing, almost equally as important, if you ask me. I don't think it's a decisive thing to the point, a decisive advantage over one over the other to the point where I would say buy everybody around. But yeah, it's definitely one of them. So I'm going to say beer.
All right. And No, I got to buy everybody around on this because my take on this is that if goals are going to come at a premium, one bad goal can change around an entire series right now. So hopefully that's not going to be the case, and hopefully every goal was earned. But it just takes like that game 3 ridiculous overtime goal. Samsonov just was like, oh, hey, what should I do? Should I pass it around the boards? Should I just leave it? Or should I just say, oh, fuck off, go into the net? And then, of course, the forechecker just gets it, just whips it right in. And you could have passed it to Justin Schultz and gotten out of there. I mean, that almost as ridiculous as what Tristan Jarry's decision was. Let me see. I got a defenseman over here. I got a Malkin over here. It's a little bit risky. Oh, wait. Let me throw it up the middle like an idiot. Tristan Jarry, seriously. Did you have money on that series? Playing a second-round series before the first round is over is ridiculous. And I'm going to start this. I do think that's ridiculous, but I understand why. It's just because now I'm going to say buy everybody around first. Now, I'm also going to say I understand why they're doing this because you need a Saturday night game. But in this particular case, why not just have the Saturday night game be Montreal and Toronto instead of scheduling it at 5 o'clock? Do I have that right? Or is it like it's whatever it is? Because you're still not done with the first round. I know they had to do this because of COVID, but it's like an NBA thing to do, where they'll play the second round game and then do game 7 of the first round the next day. Filk.
I gotta say beer because I again the premise I do agree with you on, but it's also because remember they have the Summer Olympics that they're trying to do on NBC Sports, and they have to get the playoffs done by a certain time so that the two don't overlap because the TV deal for everything here. So
Agreed. That's another reason.
Yeah, it's beer for that alone. Otherwise, I would say round, but I'm going beer here for that.
Anthony,
I'm actually gonna go shot. Only because I'm used to it now, and I don't know if you guys remember, but I do because it was the Islanders. But back in 15-16, after the Islanders beat Florida in the first round, their game 1 against Tampa Bay happened when the first round wasn't over yet. I forget what the matchup was that was still going, but so that's many years ago now that they've been doing this, and I've just become kind of to it. I think I get it. I think it is somewhat weird to have it happen, but at the same time, I guess the league feels that like for instance, a round 1 game in the North Division between Montreal and Toronto doesn't really have any effect on when the Islanders and Bruins start their second round series. So again, weird, perfect world. Just start it when the round 1's over totally. But I guess because time issues and TV scheduling, they feel like it doesn't matter. So
and also Toronto and the North Division got pushed back because of the Vancouver situation. Yeah. Again, I understand it too. It doesn't mean I have to like it. After Gerard Gallant interviews, the NYR coaching search is over. Mr. Filkowski?
Shot. Because they obviously they plan to interview Rick Tocchet. I would see if there are other candidates available, and I know this is a pipe dream, and I think we would all love it if he became available somehow. Well, at least I think most Ranger fans would. But Ron Brindamore, Carolina, if they somehow Carolina, if Tom Dundon didn't ever want to keep him, the Rangers should back up a Brinks truck at his door and say, "You want to swim in this pile of cash? Come to New York." So, shot.
Anthony,
I'm gonna go shot too. I know most of the Ranger fan base wants Gallant. He's out there. He's been out there for a while, but at the same time, I mean, you never know. Maybe they got in there and they didn't particularly like him during the interview. Just because you feel pressure, everyone thinks he's the right choice doesn't mean you should go do it anyway. There's other qualified guys out there. So it would be silly going into the mindset of having, Gallant's our guy no matter what. I think, there's plenty of other guys that could bring something to the table. They each have strengths, different styles, viewpoints, so there's a lot of things that go into selecting a coach. So I would think it'd be pretty ignorant for the Rangers to view it that way. So definitely a shot.
It's a clean sweep. There's 3 shots right here. The answer also to that is due diligence. The last time the Rangers were in this situation, they did their due diligence almost. There was a coach who was rumored to be coming to New York, or I don't know. Okay, hold on, I'm just gonna mute that. There's a coach that was rumored to be coming to New York, and they were possibly going to go get him, but then his team stayed in the playoffs and ended up winning the Stanley Cup. And of course, it's Barry Trotz. So the Rangers could have had Barry Trotz. Instead, he goes to the Islanders. So that's not a good thing. Is Barry Trotz happy in the situation that he's in? Of course he's happy in that situation. But it's one of those things of, if you could get Rod Brindamore and then go all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, and he's in a Barry Trotz state, kind of state where it was pay me or I'm leaving. Okay. Yeah. That's another one. So even if you have to give a compensation, that's something you have to take into credit for, because the Rangers need to nail this coach. Sorry, phrasing. But the Rangers need to nail this coaching hire. Because you're going to have like a who's who of great coaches that are going to be in this division, and it's going to be that way for a while. I mean, you still got Sullivan, whatever we want to say about him, like we said before. You're still going to have Trotz. You're still going to have Lavalliette. You're either going to have Brendan Moore coming in with Carolina or coaching the Rangers. So, I mean, and Lindy Ruff is still a good coach, but we'll see about that. All right. This one only has 2 choices. There will be no beer. Las Vegas is winning Game 7. Mr. Fikowski.
It's a round for everybody. I predicted them to win. I'm surprised that this series has gone this far. I know that was one thing that I've been wrong about, but I just think that there's just too much experience in Vegas's favor. I think Vegas has the better team. I think they've got the better depth. I think they're better equipped to handle a Game 7. I know Matt Zuccarello has a ton of Game 7 experience. Cam Talbot really doesn't have a lot, but Marc-Andre Fleury has Game 7 experience, and I think that we're going to see Vegas come out on top.
Oh, by the way, Cam Talbot does have 1 Game 7 experience, and that was with Edmonton. And if you recall, he wouldn't have needed that if they didn't choke away Game 5. So, sorry, that's just fact. You know what? Before I throw it to you, Anthony, I'll just buy everybody around. I picked Vegas too. I picked them in 6. They got to do it tonight.
So, I mean, I think Vegas will win, but just for the sake of playing devil's advocate here and seeing another viewpoint, I'm gonna go shot. I referenced early on when we made our predictions how Minnesota, I think, took 5 games from Vegas during the regular season. They were thorn in their side for whatever reason. They had their number, and just to make an analogy, it's different obviously in this case because no team that makes the playoffs is bad or anything. But they always say, like in a hockey game in general, when you let a bad team hang around, they usually come back and bite you. So similar to this, in this playoff series, in that same vein, Vegas has let a team hang around that they should have beat. Now it's Game 7. Now they have confidence. They just came off a shutout win in Minnesota. They're feeling good about it. Like I said, they had their number in the regular season. Vegas should be a little scared right now. You have the second best team in the league kind of on the ropes. Yeah, they're at home, but Minnesota has all the momentum. They have nothing to lose here. I mean, going into the season, did anyone really think they were even going to make the playoffs? I mean, let's be real. So, yeah, no pressure for them. No pressure for them. They got an electric rookie in Kaprizov. Talbot's feeling good. They got a good defense. Vegas should have finished them off a long time ago.
And, of course, our last one for right now. Tomorrow night, Montreal will force Game 7. Anthony.
going to go round here. They're tomorrow night. They're the first Canadian city to have allowed some fans in. They're going to have 2,500 Habs fans in there. They're some of the most passionate fans in hockey. So even though it's 2,500, I'm sure they'll do whatever they can to be as loud as they can. They're at home. They got, even though he's getting older, and I always thought he was a little overrated, they still have a really good goalie in Price in net. Caulfield's playing well. Suzuki, they had that 2-0 they connected on. I'm sure they're still a little pissed off that they blew that 3-0 lead, so that's in their heads too. Whether or not they win Game 7, that's a different story, but I do think they are going to force the Game 7. And also, too, let's remember, Toronto's been a battered franchise in the last couple of years with their failures to get out of the first round, blowing leads. You go back to that Boston series. So, don't think for 1 second they're not starting to second guess themselves, saying, "Oh, we had a 3-1 lead." Now it's, if we happen to lose this game, it's a Game 7, and everything's up in the air. So there's a lot of pressure on them. I don't know how that will translate to the game, but I'm sure those feelings are kind of in the back of their heads as well. So again, I don't know if Montreal will win once it goes to Game 7, but I'll buy everyone around and say Montreal will force a Game 7 with a win at home.
I'm buying around. I absolutely. I picked Montreal to win in 7. I've referenced the same thing that Anthony said. I referenced their struggles in the first round. I've mentioned Montreal's depth up and down their lineup. They've got guys on each line that can score at least to a mid upper level. You got guys that should be playing on their third line, on their fourth line. So and their defense, I like their defense better than Toronto's. I know that Toronto made a bunch of additions at the deadline, but goaltending was the biggest thing for me in this series. And even though I think, again, as Anthony said, I believe that Carey Price has been overrated, but he's still better than I think anything that Toronto can throw at them. And Jack Campbell has been a nice story, but I think Cinderella's glass slipper has been lost. And the clock is starting to go towards midnight, and he's going to turn back into a pumpkin. I think Montreal is going to come back, and they're going to win this series.
3 for 3 on the people that think Carey Price is overrated. Although I'm going to go shot here. I think we know the advantage that it could do for the home crowd of getting a team to wake up and getting them in there. There is an advantage sometimes to only having they're going to have, 2,800 people?
25, yeah.
2,500. There is an advantage, though, to the road team, because then you're going to get jazzed up because you're going to be like, I want to shut these people up. So I think Jack Campbell played his worst period of that series. He was fine. And then if it wasn't for that 2-0 where I think it was the Islanders guy was talking to Marty Biron. I heard this on the radio just before. He said, push the net off, and then you only have to get a penalty shot. I forgot what the guy's name is now. It's killing me. But where he was facing a 2-0, he pushed the net off. It's a penalty shot. But now the rule is he pushed the net off. It's a goal. So, and they actually named it after him. But I forgot his name also. That's going to do it for our Bar Talk segment today. We just went. Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, Anthony.
I know just before we move on, I was just thinking about this now with the Leafs. Just wanted to ask you guys a question or your thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's a big if Toronto goes on to lose this series. Where do you think they go? I mean, for instance, they already fired Babcock because of their failures to, progress. Dubas has gone out and added guys like Wayne Simmons because the prior critique of they're soft. They don't have enough hard-nosed players. So if they lose again and don't advance from the first round, what are the directions? They already kind of tinkered with the roster, although minor. They already fired the coach. So if they lose, do you guys think Dubas takes a fall and he gets canned? Do you think they do something more drastic, like moving a William Nylander, or what do you think they do if they lose this? Because if they lose this series, being that they play in the mecca of Canada hockey, Toronto, they're going to have to do something. So what do you think that something is if they blow this?
John, you go first.
I think Dubas would probably get canned. I think that's probably inevitable if they lose. If Tavares wasn't injured, I would absolutely say he'd be fired immediately afterwards because losing Tavares is huge for them. But yeah, I mean, Dubas has made all these moves, but he's made like bargain basement type moves. He had to get rid of Kasperi Kapanen for cap purposes. I mean, he tried to keep that core together. He brought in TJ Brody to replace Tyson Barrie, which I thought was a decent move, but not a great one. They definitely need more of a Josh Manson type back there on defense than they do a guy like Brody. But I could definitely see Dubas going. I don't know if I could see someone like William Nylander going because it would have to take a really good deal to get rid of him. And I mean, put up better numbers than someone like Pierre-Luc Dubois for the span of his career. I know Pierre-Luc Dubois was drafted after and he's been in the league for less time, but William Nylander would cost a pretty penny to acquire. So I don't know if there'd be a team that would be willing to give up what it would take to get him. He's not really like a center anymore per se. I know he can play center. I would say the Rangers would be in on him if he was playing center, but again, I don't know if he would put the Rangers over the top. I don't know if that's the type of move that would help them. But I would say at least Dubas being fired. Maybe a bigger move, but again, going to be tough to do.
I would think that they clean house on Dubas and possibly the coach too, to get a more experienced coach. I'm saying possibly, not really that it's a definite. You'd have to ask the questions about this roster. What are you going to do with this roster? You got three $10 million players. Is it really working out? Their back end is still mediocre, and their goaltending situation is So it's and then you're going to go back to your division where you have to deal with Tampa Bay and Boston all the time. They're not built to beat Tampa Bay and Boston. I mean, they needed to get out of this round. And as a matter of fact, I picked them to win in 5. So I got them still winning this series. But why I'm a loss for words is because I don't know where to go from here for them. That's just, I don't know.
We need Bone Thugs and Harmony Crossroads video here and song because that's where they're going to be at if they lose this series. So,
I mean,
I think like Nylander like fade away like they did in the video.
I mean, I keep hearing the 21 Pilots song, the one that goes, "Now we're stressed out," but that's sort of what everybody is. I mean, it's other than finding a genie. I don't know what this team is going to do. And you can't just say to them, just trade away Matthews and see where it goes from there. Okay. Where are you trading Matthews? It's just, no, he's one of the better players in the league. You can't do that. So, I mean, thank God Jim Dolan's not running that team. I'll tell you that. All right. But again, we always want to know what you think. And you know what? We'll add the extra wrinkle that Anthony threw in there at the last second. What's next for the Maple Leafs if they lose this series? Do you think that the second round should always be played at the second round when the first one is over? Gerard Gallant, is he the New York Rangers coach as soon as he's done interviewing? Vegas? It's definitely for me. So, all right. We're going to move on. We're going to do a quick, honest press conference for you, and we'll play our intro for that.
Connor, just can you give me your sense of kind of where the group is at?
Once again, my teammates come up short.
I love it when he looks off in the distance. That's like perfect right there. Okay, so we're going to do 3 of them real quick, one for each of us. And these are the honest press conferences where we say what they really want to say. And we'll also field 2 questions just to make it good. So we're going to start with yours truly, who is Tristan Jarry. So a lot of people are blaming me right now for the way for us getting eliminated, but people remember I had 25 wins in this young season. I mean, 25 wins, 37 games. That's pretty good, isn't it? So people want to just go, oh, it's the goalie's fault. It's the goalie's fault. What about Letang? When was the last? I mean, he won a Norris Trophy. He didn't play any defense for me. I mean, how about Sidney Crosby? You're like this generational player, still one of the best in the game. When you put the puck in the net, it's against Adam Pelech and Ryan Pullock. They didn't exactly have Norris Trophy a series against you. Come on. I mean, I know it's my fault, and I know that there are people that talk about me on the internet that say you must have money on this series. But come on, man. The odds were going to be really good for the Islanders. So, I mean, the payoff is really – I mean, I took Game 5 and said, you know what, I just want to go home. And that's where I flicked it up the middle right to Josh Bailey. So, I mean, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that or done anything else. I mean, hell, there are peewees that wouldn't have made that mistake. But, you know, just blaming it all on me, that's not the right thing to do. I mean, I just found out the other day that you're actually supposed to catch with the catching glove. I mean, I just thought it was like a catching blocker. I mean, heck, that's the way like Dan Blackburn did it for the Rangers in the early 2000s. But you know, I gotta pick up my arm all the way to here. I mean, one of those days I had a COVID shot, I think. I don't know. But I mean, I would know. I don't know. Somebody I just didn't want to. So I tried to make that elbow save on Josh Bailey. That was almost good. So I'll take some questions right now, guys.
Tristan, with the Pittsburgh Penguins history, or recent history, I should say, of moving goaltenders out, going from Marc-Andre Fleury to Matt Murray, now to yourself, and obviously Casey backing you up. And with your performance in this year's playoffs, do you think that the organization might be reconsidering you as the starter going forward? Or do you feel that your job security might have been lessened after this series?
Well, in my exit interview, GM Ron Hextall kept on calling me Christian. So I'm like, no, it's Tristan. He said whatever. So I'm not sure if that's a good sign or not. They kind of said they sent all my stuff to Seattle already. I don't know if that's a good indication either. But I mean, Sidney Crosby did punch me in the nuts on the way out the other day. So it's I think I'm taking too much blame for this. All people had to do in their scouting reports is just know I don't have a really good glove hand. I guess people just figured that out when, everybody scored on that glove hand. This. I didn't do the Patrick Law thing, that thing at all. I mean, I just had to do that. So it's it was a little bit tough. Hearing guys that are saying, "Oh, well, bye, Christian." So that's kind of my bad sign right there.
Oh, and Tristan.
Yes. Oh, do you have a follow-up question? Because our second question, unfortunately, walked out the door right now.
I actually do. Do you think that Coach Sullivan would have actually pulled you and went with Casey if Casey was available to play this series?
Well, if you remember after the Brock Nelson goal in Game 6, I just started, or the second Brock Nelson goal, I should say. I forgot. There were so many goals that went by me. I actually looked to the bench to be like, "Hey, you coming to take me?" And he didn't want to go with Legacy, or Legacy. If Casey was even available, I think he would have gone with that. He actually put out a shooter tutor and put that on the net, and said that would actually stop more pucks than me. So it hurt a little bit on the inside, but the first rule is never let them see you cry. That's exactly what you have to do. Just don't let them know it hurts on the inside. But there's other goalies in the playoffs that are worse than me, such as there's got to be one. Hold on. Okay, well, Sergei Bobrovsky. There you go. I mean, Sergei Bobrovsky, Darren Dreger. Hey, they had that 16-year-old kid that was pretty good for Florida, so that was all right. But there's other potential landing spots for me somewhere. Maybe even Vancouver. All I got to do is compete against Thatcher Demko. So, man, Anthony was supposed to be up next.
Yeah, I don't know what happened with Anthony there.
All right. Well. All right. Well, we'll kill another minute just in case I'm still in character. Because I also want yours to be last if it's at all possible. So,
well,
we'll definitely cut this segment out when I do that later, because you're gonna love your guy. If you didn't look at the rundown, you're gonna love seeing this one.
Oh, why do you think I was doing my research the way I was?
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah. Okay, good. So yeah. that'll pay off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
at least we get to see that Anthony's got a very nice room.
Yeah, nice little that's definitely Tony Hand's influence back there. The guys would put that type of thing in a bedroom.
Yeah.
That's the one thing.
Yeah. I mean, I miss having all my stuff thrown into storage. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta be real fun.
Yeah. Although I did have an office at one point. So again, she was a good girl. Just and I'm not just saying that just in case if this ever gets back. So kind of we got some dead air that Mike Francesco would be
really ever had like dead air, because Anthony is just I don't know. I hope he's all right.
Yeah, I hope everything's all good, because it was that important. But
yeah, usually he doesn't take it. It might be something pretty important.
Yeah, that's why we're willing to wait. Always, never leave a man behind.
Yeah.
We're like soldiers here. We don't leave our brothers behind.
No, we do not.
No, I mean it's interesting to think about though, with the whole thing with Jarry and just the dynamic of how he could possibly not be the guy going forward. It's like in Philly, like they have to reconsider whether Carter Hart is the guy or not now. Because how Carter Hart was this season.
I mean, Carter Hart was so bad this year. You have no choice but to reevaluate it. And when you lose a playoff series that bad, now the question is that goes right after that is it an indication that you got the wrong guy, or was it just a bad series? And from my money with Jarry, no, he's not going to last. Thank you. Good regular season goaltender, but 6 games, let's see. 6 games, there was 5 goals, 3 goals. Like take for instance game 5, glove side, stick side, glove side.
There's a book out on him now. But that to me, I think is probably the most frightening thing about it. If you're Pittsburgh, because if everybody gets that book, then this guy has got to make major strides on his glove hand, and his glove hand just looks awful. It doesn't even look NHL level caliber, and that's not good for an NHL goaltender. So, I mean, I just wonder how much of their success with Jarry and net attributes to the fact that, one, Crosby and Malkin were really able to kind of, keep the puck away and in the offensive zone and sustain possession offensively, and how much of it is the fact that they were playing in a division in which they played the Rangers, who really were kind of an up and down team, whose number they had. They had the Rangers number. The Devils, who really weren't that good of a team.
Buffalo.
And the Sabres and the Flyers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, those four teams were they were not good enough in terms of competition. I mean, I know the Rangers technically would have made the playoffs in just about every other division, but, I mean, were the Rangers really that good of a team?
No. The short answer on that is no. But the other answer for the rest of this is, you just can't be constantly rotating your goalies. And for me, when I watched Matt Murray, I always found he had a hole right here. Like if you shot by his ear, he never adjusted to get the glove over his face, which is understandable because if you're not a baseball player, you're not going to go with the glove over your face. Henrik Lundqvist didn't want to do that, and he just wanted to headbutt it away. But the thing is, I remember a game against the Dallas Stars in 2016 or 2017. He just got lit up just because they kept putting it right here. It's still a difficult shot to get, so that's where the hard part is. So is it fixable? Possibly. Maybe you can work with them in the off season, but I mean, I don't.
Yeah, but that spot right there that you're referencing is something that occurs a lot less than this. Like if you get this down, which that's what Jarry's trouble was, and you're going blocker side to go across to get that, then that's a major problem. That's beyond working.
I mean, John, let's just if he used Hank's setup, just blocker, and Hank always kept the glove raised. That's what he did. Jarry keeps it low. He keeps it low and doesn't snap it up. He just goes low. That's it. Hank used it more of a blocker where it would go in the glove, and then that's it.
At least he might have to at least raise it to like a mid-range type, like keep the blocker low and then mid-range, maybe not low like that, but like or low like that. I don't know. You can't really see like low like this.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe mid-range like here.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just keep it up the whole time. Then you're exposing another hole. But
right. But then the next question is it easier for you to snap it up or to snap it down?
Snap it up.
It's always easier to snap it up, but he's not excelling at that.
No, he's not, and that's a problem. That's why I think that maybe Tristan Jarry. Listen, I was never high on this guy. I always said from the start, and that's why I said what I said at the in the Islanders is that I think that they had a decisive. And that's why, that was ended up being one of the reasons. But I mean, it's just I don't see a lot that I don't like, or a lot that I like in Jarry. I don't think there's a lot of redeeming value to him.
I don't think he's good on his angles. I don't think he reads the play well. I think he is over aggressive with his stick. Does he think he's Martin Brodeur? You know what? Again, I said this the other day for our Wednesday show, which was before our Tuesday show. I mean, before all this went on, which was your stick handling goaltenders are always my favorite because you just put the pressure on them. They're going to make a mistake. That's why people were like, I mean, Marty Brodeur made mistakes.
Yeah.
Remember the 2010 Olympics.
The game 6 against Anaheim in 2003.
Yeah. So it's just like game 6. Game 6. But the Olympics, he gave away 2 pucks, and Brian Rafalski, I think, scored on both plays. So it's just, do people think that's? I never like stick handling goalies. Your job is to stay in the net. So just stay in the net and stop the puck. Never.
The one thing I would say is we have one in our net with Igor Shesterkin. The one thing I'll say is the ones that remain calm while doing it are the ones that are usually better. Like Mike Smith is great at it, but like he's made a bunch of mistakes throughout his career. I mean, and you got to remember, it's the ones who. It's kind of like how a quarterback that scrambles, but then runs himself out of the pocket too many times on purpose. Those are the guys that get hit. Those are the guys that get injured. Those are the guys whose shelf lives are usually shorter. That's to me what the analogy I have for goaltenders like the over. I'm not a big fan of that. I like Shesterkin because Shesterkin, although he shows a willingness to do it, he doesn't overplay it, and that's you have to put the foot down and you have to step in there and say, hey, I need to border this. I need to cut down on this, or I need to put up a divider and have that line between overplaying and playing it just enough. So Shesterkin knows how to stay on the right side of that line. He's not like a habitual line stepper like a DiPietro was. I mean, even Marty Brodeur was a habitual line stepper, but for the first half of his career, he got away with it because, trapezoid. Then the trapezoid came in and changed everything.
Yeah. So. And a guy that had a healthy amount of times where you could use the stick was John Van Beesbroek. John Van Beesbroek wasn't an overabundant, hey, I got to handle the puck right now. It's if there's a chance to get extra offense, he would step up, knock the puck up to a defenseman. So it's just that's some things that he did. So, Van
Beesbroek also used the stick in other ways.
Yes, he did. Yes.
Yeah.
I just took Anthony's feet out of there for right now, so that way there's not any problems. But just again, stick handling goalies. They just the best ones aren't. I understand. I'm saying other than Marty Brodeur, who was the winningest goaltender of all time, but still, it's like the guys that handle the puck too much, they end up screwing up. Patrick Waugh didn't handle the puck that much. Well,
yeah,
that
had his fair share of gaffes, but different types of gaffes, I guess you could say.
All right, well, Dominik Hasek didn't handle it at all.
No.
Yeah.
And I think Dominik Hasek is the hands-down best goalie ever.
I'm not going to argue with that. I always say three guys, in my opinion, if you said best goalie of all time, I don't argue with. Waugh, Hasek, Dryden. And I understand your hesitancy on Dryden, but for me, my money, the guy won 2 Stanley Cups before he was able to drink from it. I think
that every single season that Dryden played, he had no less than 8 Hall of Famers in front of him.
That's true too.
It's just that's not nuts.
But then, are you
every single year?
Are you the good one, or is it someone else?
Dryden though, you can't sit there and say that Dryden is one of the 3 best when he has that many people in front of him. You know what I'm going to do?
Yeah, that is kind of why I downgrade Brodeur. So,
yeah, but Brodeur played with 2 Hall of Fame defenders in front of him. Yes, but his teams were never truly, truly great. He had only one really good team in front of him, and that was the 01 Devils team, and that team lost to Colorado 7. With that Colorado team being stacked as they were. They were the 2 best teams in the league for my money that year.
Didn't the 98 team win the President's Trophy?
What?
The Devils.
No, the Devils lost in 98 in the first round, I believe, to Ottawa.
Yeah, but they didn't win. Didn't they win the President's Trophy?
No, the President's Trophy that year was... let me see if I can remember this off the top of my head.
Killing time.
97 President's Trophy was Colorado, I believe.
Yeah, actually, I think that's right.
96 was Detroit. I know that because that was the 62 win season. 97 was, I believe, Colorado. 98 President's Trophy. Detroit was not they were not even a 1 seed in the playoffs that year. I think the 1 seed in the playoffs in the West, the East 1 seed was Jersey. And then the West, was it Dallas that was the 1 seed that year?
Which year was this?
98. 97, 98.
Dallas was the 1 seed.
What's up?
Dallas was the 1 seed.
In 97, 98, then
Yeah.
I think Dallas won the President's Trophy. I think they might have won it 2 years in a row then. Because
You
I know
were correct right off the top of your head. Devils, I believe, were the number 1 seed in the East because they lost to Ottawa.
yeah, they won.
Then it goes Dallas, St. Louis, Colorado, Detroit, Ottawa, back to Detroit. Nothing in 05. Detroit again. So Detroit had it 3 of 5 years. Sabres, Red Wings, Sharks, Capitals, Canucks 2 years in a row.
Yeah, the Rangers finished second in the league in 2012, and then 2013 was the Blackhawks. 2014 President's Trophy was that.
You got this.
2014 President's Trophy. Was that Vancouver in 2014?
Nope. Eastern team.
East team 2014. 2014. It wasn't the Rangers. They were.
Correct, because the Rangers were 2014-15.
Yeah, that was 2014-15. Yeah, that was the next year. Eastern team in 20. Shit. Was it Boston?
It was Boston.
Yeah.
It goes Boston, Capitals, Predators, Tampa, Bruins, and now the Avalanche. So, and that'll all be determined. Still no word from Anthony.
Yeah, I don't know if everything is all right.
All right. Well,
I wonder if really starting.
Well, he'll let us know, and hopefully everything's fine. It was that much of an emergency.
Yeah.
In any event, like I said, I took him off on that. I guess we could just hold on to this till the next time, even though it might be a couple weeks. Because I'm gonna have to leave you guys all the stuff for next week. Actually, I'll save that all for another time. Fortunately, we can do yours another time. The next time we do this, the Honest Press Conferences, tune in because Filk is going to be David Quinn. And we promise it'll be must-watch TV. All right. So unexpectedly, we're going to sign it off right now. If you have anything you want to say, throw it in the comments below. And you know what? Just who do you think is going to win Game 7 tonight? It is tonight, right? Minnesota and who's going to win Game 7? And let's just. I hope it's Vegas. Yeah, you know what? I'd be okay with Minnesota one. I picked Vegas. It kind of sucks. All right. Well, anyway, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Take care.